What does a healthy relationship look like? I'm going to read to you from the School of Life. This is also on my community page. So we talk so much about unhealthy relationships or red flags and what you should never put up with or whatever. But I really like this. How do emotionally healthy people behave in relationships? And frankly, I'm just going to read this to you. So if you don't want to listen to me talk, just go to the School of Life on YouTube or on my community page. It's the top post right now. We can get so caught up in the problems of love that we forget to ask ourselves a basic sounding but hugely revealing and crucial question. What are emotionally healthy people like in relationships? What is love like for the psychologically mature, yet the minority, among us? And to boil the answer down to its essence, we might say these fortunate people operate with the bedrock feeling that they deserve love, which goes on to change pretty much everything that happens to them in relationships. They aren't afflicted, we should immediately add, with the sense that they're owed everything or are at all points marvelous. This isn't grandiosity, just a fundamental conviction that they have the right to be treated with kindness, compassion, forgiveness, thoughtfulness, and gentleness, that they are at heart decent enough people who can expect that someone on the planet will be able to cherish them. This at once lends a very particular tenor to their approach to love. For a start, even if they are presently alone, they calmly expect that they need not remain so forever, unless of course they choose to. A cozy relationship is going to be possible in the future because they know it was possible in the past, in the favored childhood, which is what has lent these people their psychological health and basic faith in existence. They can keep going by themselves for many years, even decades, perhaps till the end, because inside a small, nourishing fire burns in them, originally lit by a kindly caregiver or parent, which reassures them of their fundamental worthiness outside of another's embrace. They don't have to try to persuade themselves that certain highly questionable people might have virtues. They have the clarity that flows from an ability to walk away. Part of what makes them emotionally healthy is a lack of confusion as to what kindness might look like. Their childhoods have taught them what the rest of us may spend to the later part of our lives trying to grasp, that loving people don't keep letting you down, that loving people don't say they adore you and then take 3 days to call you back, that they don't repeatedly shout horribly harsh things to you late at night and then pretend nothing happened in the morning, that they don't sleep with your friends and then promise never to do so again. Not for them the questions that haunt the emotionally wounded. Is it normal that I should feel undetermined every time I speak to my partner? Is it tolerable that they should lose their temper so regularly? Should I believe them when they accuse me of not being mentally well for doubting things about them? They simply don't see any attraction whatsoever in being punished. At the same time, the certainty that they deserve love means that, so long as they are in a relationship, the emotionally healthy do not have to exert a constant suspicion of the other's motives. If a partner tells them they love them, until and unless they receive evidence to the contrary, they will believe them. If the partner makes an error, They trust that it wasn't a deliberate plot to harm them. They don't have to have their lover followed or read their diary. They aren't continually looking out for attacks or delivering frantic accusations. Their needs have been met in the past. There's a good chance that they can be so again in the future. They can gamble on being hopeful. Finally, the emotionally healthy don't have to pick conspicuously attractive or wealthy partners. They aren't looking to shore up their egos by leaning on the outward glamour or accomplishments of others. They can tolerate a no longer so young body or slightly unusual nose, so long as their owners know how to understand the nature of tenderness. We can marvel at the emotionally healthy person and measure our distance from them, hopeful that we might one day join them in their astonishing good humor and faith in the possibility of honest, reliable relationships with other humans. So he's saying the essence of people who do behave in an emotionally healthy way in relationships is that they are fortunate that they have a bedrock feeling that they deserve love. It doesn't mean that they're grandiose, but it does mean that they, deep inside of their bones, I would say, believe they have a right to be treated with kindness, compassion, forgiveness, thoughtfulness, and gentleness. And they can also be alone. And this is all because inside of them there's a small nourishing fire. A small nourishing fire burns in them, originally lit by a kindly caregiver or parent, which reassures them that they're worthy even when they're alone. Okay? And they don't have to question when someone isn't treating them right. They just have an ability to walk away because it's very clear they're not being treated well, so they can just walk away. These people are fortunate, actually. They're not confused about what kindliness is, so they're not confused, okay? Some people keep getting into these abusive relationships because they're confused about what kindness is like. So people who behave in emotionally healthy ways in relationships are not confused what kindness looks like and feels like. They will automatically walk away from anyone who lets them down, doesn't keep their word. Say they adore you and then take 3 days to call you back, like your words don't match your actions, gone. Shouting horrible things to you late at night and then pretending nothing happened in the morning, they're gone. Sleeping with your friends and then promising never to do so again, they're gone. Just sleeping with your friends, they're gone. Alcoholism, I'm going to add to this, alcoholism, drinking problems, they're gone. Hitting you, they're gone. Blaming you for things, they're gone. Not taking accountability, being angry and mean, they're just gone. Having nothing going on, being lazy, they're gone. Trying to control you, being nasty, not taking care of yourself, your house is a mess, messy house, don't have your finances in order, get drunk, they're gone. Okay, I just added to things. So people who are in emotionally healthy relationships just have a clear sense. They don't have any confusion about what kindness is like. They can tell automatically, this isn't kind. I'm not interested in this. I'm gone. If they start to feel undermined every time they speak to their partner, they're gone. Their partner loses their temper so easily, gone. When they get accused of being mentally unwell or just get accused all the time, gone. They don't, because they don't see any attraction being punished. So for some people, they don't realize they got to have a list of red flags, but they're still attracted to it because deep down they don't know. I think that to me is the bottom line for people who get into these unhappy relationships, is they don't automatically feel in their body that this is a no for me. They don't have that automatic sense. And even if you were to tell them, they would still continue to feel attraction for that person. So I don't know how we change. I don't know how we can improve on that in ourselves. But maybe just being aware of it is a good start, that I deserve to be with people who treat me with love. I deserve to be treated with love. Is this loving? Is this loving? And certainly people have arguments and disagreements. And then again, it's about, do we come back together and see our parts and find a resolution? Is this person willing to work on things? Is this person taking accountability? Certainly people that get angry very quickly are a red flag. I think those people, just from what I've just like read or observed, people get angry very quickly and hit you. That usually comes from people who get super angry quickly, have a lot of anger, and then they feel entitled. They're grandiose. They would never hit you at a party. Okay, so it's not that they can't control themselves. It's that deep down they feel entitled to hit you. That's the issue. They saw it growing up, or it was done to them, and those are really, really, really hard to treat. Those cases are really, really hard to treat, the people who hit you. Because their anger is strong and their entitlement. They think it's okay. And then the people who get hit, because they stay in the relationship, they're agreeing to it. They don't realize that's not okay. They're like, oh, he apologized or she apologized. She didn't really mean it. And overlooking these huge things, that is how people get into trouble. It comes from the childhood. They don't realize it. They think that's love. So they don't know what love feels like. So maybe we need another reading through this. Like, what does love feel like? I think some people think that being treated with kindness is boring. Because I knew someone who was in an unhealthy relationship with a lot of fighting. And this person thought that my marriage was boring. Because we didn't fight. We would just do the silent treatment, we didn't want to fight. So she thought my relationship was boring. So that's the thing. I think that some people like the fighting. They need it. So emotionally healthy people do believe their partner. They're not constantly suspicious. They're more trusting. And also, in the end, the emotionally healthy don't have to pick people who are very hot or very rich as a way of getting confidence or their ego needs met, because what they're really looking for is someone who's tender with them. That's more important than someone who to shore up their ego by leaning on the outward glamour or accomplishments of others. So I think he kind of points out there are few people that are really emotionally healthy, so we can marvel at them and measure how far we are from them, and hopefully one day we can join their ranks. I thought that was really good. The School of Life, I really like their posts. And you go to their page on their community posts. He just did one last night about picking partners who won't understand us. It's kind of related, I think. Picking partners who won't understand us. It seems a peculiar thing, right? Picking someone who doesn't understand you. Surely we all want to be understood. But when it comes to love, we shouldn't pay attention to common sense. We should look more to the unconscious and the devilish matter of repetition compulsion. That means the urge to repeat dynamics we knew in childhood, because that's what we know. That's what we're used to, and that's what we formed our personalities to cope with. So we formed our personalities to cope with these certain undesirable patterns. Like I knew how to be with emotionally unavailable men. I just had to keep hoping and repressing and pushing down my pain. I knew how to do that. So unconsciously that I did it over and over and over. At one point, even one of my friends like, "Hey Sharzad, why do you keep going for unavailable men?" And I was so mad. I'm like, this guy isn't unavailable because I can make him available. Don't you see? And I was so convinced, but because I got so angry at her question, I knew there was something to it. So I started pondering it more, And that was like 10 years ago. I still remember that question because it was such a good question. That's like a question another friend asked me once. When I asked her, because she used to fight a lot with her husband, like not violent, but they would argue. Be like, why would you want to be with someone who likes to argue with you? Like, I didn't get it. And then later on, on that same walk, she asked me, why are you interested in men that don't want to be with you? And I was like, oh, you mean that's like unusual? Like, it made me question it, just these simple questions. I didn't like the questions, but that's always a good, when a friend asks a question like that, it's kind of like a good wake-up call. So subconsciously, we may be more strongly devoted to not being understood than we realize, because we might be terrorized at someone properly seeing us. We might be ashamed or embarrassed or feel awkward under the spotlight. It can feel weird if someone asks us too many questions, if they really listen to what we say, if they're very concerned with our welfare and our ideas. I mean, nothing quite as lovely or strange has ever happened to us. And so something within us may not even like it. We may be much more at home with the attention being elsewhere. Maybe we prefer to do the loving and the listening, rather give than be given to, if we have trouble receiving. And that is why, if we take a sober audit of what we actually do in love, we may have a history of the following: falling for hugely self-preoccupied people whom we help a lot, financially or with their problems, and who don't give us that much help or attention. Or falling in love with people who are sunk in some form of deep sadness and reserve, which excites our longings and our sympathy, and which makes us walk the perimeter of their castle walls for years or decades, hoping against hope that the drawbridge might be let down. Falling in love with people who are below us in terms of emotional intelligence, people who rarely read books and blithely say they don't have too much time for psychological things, even if this is what matters to us hugely. A disregard we shrug our shoulders at and might define as charming or incidental, as opposed to centrally significant and crying shame, as well as unconsciously an enormous relief. So saying like we might wish people understood us and listened to us, but subconsciously we're so relieved that they don't. Falling in love with people who might be much younger than we are, so that their experience and psychological equipment renders them safely unable to connect and comprehend much of who we are. We should add, these people may give us a lot of grief, and we may complain a lot that they don't love us as they should. But what we overlook is that we picked them. We spend a good deal of our life around them, and there would, despite our almost protest to the contrary, would have been plenty of other candidates available if only we could have tolerated them. That's so true. Our minds are much cleverer than we are. They size up people in an instant. They know long before we do that the person sitting opposite us at the party or whom we met on the dating app seems rather dangerous and that they're asking us a few too many questions. They seem a bit too well read, too psychologically astute, a bit too kind and thoughtful, and are keeping track of too much of what we say. Just as we may on another occasion feel infinitely safer and more at ease with someone whom we recognize will not come hunting for us, who lets us ask all the questions and offer all the help, and whom we know will let us remain safely isolated. The best we can do is to keep a basic question in mind when we next consider a candidate for a relationship. Is this someone who has what it takes to understand us? Could they do more than just like us? Could they engage with us profoundly? Are they our equal? And if they are, can we remain calm enough to notice or fear of such capacities in them? Could we allow this capable soul to know and nurture us as no one has known and nurtured us before? Could we dare this time around to be understood? I love these. I'm going to share this to my community page also, so that you guys can find it.